Have you ever walked into a place and felt like you were completely invisible? Not in the poetic, cosmic sense where we're all just floating particles in space, but in a very real, I'm standing here and nobody notices kind of way. That was Jerome Wilson's reality today. 47 years old, ridiculously successful, and at this exact moment entirely unseen. And this wasn't just any hotel. This was one of the flagship properties of the luxury chain he had built from scratch. The kind of place that marketed itself as a palace for the elite, charging more per night than some folks' monthly rent. And yet, there he stood, right at the front desk, ignored like some drifter who wandered in off the street. Jerome wasn't there randomly. There had been complaints, several of them consistently aimed at this particular location, allegations of discrimination, customer mistreatment, unavailable rooms without explanation. He could have responded in the typical CEO fashion loop in the manager, request an internal audit, toss around some executive buzzwords. But he knew better. This wasn't going to fix itself. So he arrived quietly, no suit, no driver, no assistant, just another face in the crowd checking in for a stay. That's when he got to experience his own brand of hospitality firsthand. The front desk was being handled, or more like neglected, by a blonde woman in her 20s named Kim. Her body language practically announced, "I don't care, and I'm not going to pretend I do." She was leaned back, scrolling on her phone, doing anything but acknowledging the customer in front of her. Jerome waited, cleared his throat. Nothing. Tapped the desk. Still nothing. "Excuse me." Kim exhaled audibly, a sigh so exaggerated it belonged at a theater. Finally, she looked up, more surprised than welcoming. Yeah, that was it. Not a greeting, not an offer to help, just yeah, like he had interrupted something important. Jerome stayed calm. "I have a reservation." "Jerome Wilson." Kim smirked, barely hiding her disinterest, and began tapping the keyboard as if each keystroke physically pained her. Nope, don't see it." Jerome raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "Pretty sure," she muttered, eyes already back on her phone. That's when he realized this wasn't a system error. This was deliberate. She took one look at him and decided he didn't belong. Keeping his voice steady, he said, "Please check again." Kim rolled her eyes and half-heartedly tapped at the keys. "Nope, still not in here." "Sorry." She didn't sound sorry, just indifferent. Jerome pulled out his phone and showed her his confirmation email. "It's right here." She glanced at it with the same interest she might give to a gum wrapper. "Yeah, well, our system doesn't lie." Jerome's patience then. "Neither does my email." She sighed again. "Maybe you booked the wrong location. Happens all the time." "Oh," Jerome tilted his head. "So now you're saying I don't even know where I booked?" Kim gave him a smirk meant for people she thought were clueless. "It's a common mistake." Jerome inhaled slowly, and, "If I didn't make that mistake," she shrugged, "then I guess it's a glitch." But Jerome knew the system, and glitches weren't common, people were. Something about the way she wouldn't double-check, wouldn't even look him in the eye. It was intentional. He'd seen it before, where some guest issues got solved and others just got ignored. Usually, he let it slide. Not today. He pulled out a second phone. This one gave him access to the internal network. After logging in, he found his reservation active, confirmed. But what caught his attention was the activity log. His booking had been manually deleted by Kim. Front desk staff. Gotcha. He looked up, suppressing a smirk. "Kim," he said casually. She was still on her phone. What exactly happens when someone deletes a reservation?" She barely looked up. "It just disappears. No big deal." Jerome nodded. "And who has the ability to do that?" "Only front desk staff," she said without hesitation. He turned his screen around. Her eyes landed on the log right next to the deletion. Her name. She blinked. Her face lost a bit of color. Jerome leaned forward, voice calm but sharp. "So tell me, Kim, why did you delete my reservation?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Completely speechless, Jerome smirked. This was going to be interesting. He'd seen plenty of nonsense in his career, but this was special. She kept staring at the screen, hands twitching as if trying to rewind time. I didn't." She stammered. Jerome cut her off. "Don't." The way she flinched. "Priceless. Just stop," he said. She shut her mouth so fast it was almost comical. Jerome took a breath, centering himself. He didn't want to make a scene, not yet. This needed precision. He leaned on the counter, smiling. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to find me a room. Now? She hesitated. He stared. She quickly began typing. Ida, okay. Room found. Louder. I found a room, she said, pushing a key card toward him. He didn't touch it. Which room? 1427. She answered. He sighed. The worst one in the hotel. Huh? She froze. Busted. Room 1427 next to the elevator, beside the maintenance closet, and facing the dumpsters. He designed this floor plan. He knew. Kim, he said. Do I look stupid to you? Her face twisted. No, Then why? Are you treating me like I am? Dead silence. The energy in the lobby shifted. Guests nearby paused their conversations. A bellhop adjusted his uniform like it was suddenly fascinating. Jerome picked up the key. Thanks, Kim. He walked away, but it wasn't over. Not yet. Once inside the room, he opened his laptop. Time to dig deeper. Staff complaints, guest feedback, internal reports. Kim's name kept showing up. Dismissed guest complaints, allegations of racial bias, refused service without explanation, repeated system errors during her shifts. She wasn't just unqualified, she was toxic, and yet, still employed. Why? He scrolled further. The manager, Stephen Lane, corporate pushover, avoids conflict at all costs. Translation, Kim had been a problem for a while, and no one had dealt with her. Until now. Jerome returned to the lobby, calm as ever, walked straight into the manager's office without knocking. Stephen, a man who looked like his best years were behind him, glanced up. Mr. Wilson, what a surprise. Jerome closed the door. Cut the act. Stephen, we need to talk. Stephen swallowed. Yes, of course. You know what's going on at your front desk. Stephen blinked. I think, wrong answer. One of your staff deleted my reservation. Stephen went pale. Who? Guess. Stephen's jaw dropped. Kim. Jerome grinned. Bingo. I was going to handle it. Stephen pleaded. She's been CH. Shut up, Jerome said. Silence. You've had complaints for months, maybe longer. And you did nothing. Stephen looked like a deer in headlights. Jerome shook his head. She's not some confused trainee. She's a walking liability, and she's still on payroll. Why? Stephen had no answer. So here's what's going to happen, Jerome said. You're going to walk out there and fire her. In front of everyone. Stephen froze. Now, right? Now. 2 minutes later, the lobby watched as Kim was terminated in real time. She protested, cried, called it a misunderstanding, but it didn't matter. Jerome stood off to the side, satisfied. Kim stormed out, glaring back. He smiled. Justice delivered. Still, something nagged at him. Firing one employee didn't fix everything. He wasn't here for revenge, he was here to rebuild. Stephen, sweating bullets, turned to him. It's done. Jerome smirked. No, Stephen, I did it. You just stood there. Stephen chuckled nervously. Jerome wasn't joking. I could fire. You too, he said, calmly. Stephen panicked. I'll fix it. I promise. No, Jerome said. I'll fix it. Then he stepped behind the front desk. Listen up, he told the staff. Things are changing fast. A young man nodded. Yes, sir. Do you work for corporate? Jerome smiled. Something like that. He picked up the phone. This is Wilson, he said. Shut this place down for a full audit. Refund every guest. Review every complaint. Reassess every staff member. If they're not up to standard, they're out. Immediately, the team froze. You're Jerome Wilson, someone whispered. Yeah, he replied. That Jerome Wilson. Silence. One gasp. A few stunned expressions. Stephen looked like he might faint. Jerome adjusted his jacket. If you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. He entered the elevator, smirking as the doors closed behind him. By the time he reached his suite, his phone lit up. Corporate. The board. Probably Stephen. He ignored them. First order of business cleanhouse. Kim. Blacklisted. Never again. Stephen. On his last chance. Then he turned to the guests, the real victims. He ensured every wrong guest was refunded, upgraded, and given VIP status for their next stay. Because that's what leadership looks like. A knock at the door. Stephen. Double quotes. Mr. Wilson. I didn't know. That's the problem. Stephen. You didn't. No. I fired her. Just like you said. Good. Now pack your things. Stephen's face dropped. What? You're done. But please. Jerome patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry. I'm sure a motel out there could use your skill set. Stephen stumbled away, stunned. Jerome shut the door. No more warnings. Not in his empire. He poured a drink and smiled. The hotel would be better. His business would thrive. And the next time someone thought they could disrespect the guest, they'd remember exactly who he was.